in love with over the last 5 years. I've spent 20 years working on senior leadership teams with British boarding schools, and I completed an MBA on how parents choose an independent school. And I've been working with Nigerian and Ghanaian families for 14 years. I'm delighted this afternoon to be welcoming some leading boarding schools and heads and registrars from those schools, some of the best providers of A-levels, IB, the University Foundation, and online programs the UK has to offer. The theme for this afternoon is 5 benefits of British boarding schools. And British boarding schools have been welcoming students from West Africa for many decades. As the schools will testify, your daughters and sons are hardworking, outward-looking, outstanding at sport, art, drama, and music, and display impressive leadership skills. In fact, you'll hear from a number of the schools this afternoon that many of the students from West Africa are head girls and head boys. And some of them go on to be presidents as well. More students from Ghana than ever before are showing an interest in UK boarding schools, and that's why we're here running this webinar today. And a group of British boarding schools are flying over on Monday for an exhibition at the Kempinski Hotel on Wednesday, the 5th of October in Accra, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that. And we're delighted that we're supported by the UK's Department for International Trade and the British High Commission, and I'm actually at the High Commission offices at the moment. So thanks very much for joining us. And now we're going to pass on to first of our speakers, and that's Henrietta Lightwood, who's the Director of Global Marketing and Student Recruitment for Duke's Education. And she's going to talk about some of the schools, including Cardiff Sixth Form College. So over to Henrietta.
Lovely. Well, thank you for joining us this afternoon, everybody. Really appreciate it. And as Mark quite said, we've got some great boarding schools here. But I'm going to primarily talk to you about academic excellence, which is something we take very seriously at all of our schools, actually, in Duke's Education. But probably one that is known very much for its academic excellence is Cardiff Sixth Form College. And just to kind of give you an idea, really, when you're looking for academic excellence, for instance, one of the things that happens, which is run by the Daily Telegraph, is that they rank the schools in the UK according to their A-star and A-level results. And it is certainly not the only criteria by any means to judge a school, but it is very interesting to see really where the different schools do rank. And Cardiff has really been top of the league tables for about the last 11 years and is top this year. So if we kind of drill down a little bit into A-level results and you look at them, what's been happening over the last few years, basically, if your children are getting kind of A-star to Bs, that generally means that they are able to go to what we call the Russell Group universities, which is the top 24 universities in the UK. And if they're getting all A-stars and As, they're probably aiming for kind of top universities in quite competitive subjects, things like medicine, engineering, architecture, computer science. In the what we call the COVID years, so 20 and 2021, the examinations were actually marked very differently. They were teacher assessed rather than being marked by the examination centres. So the exams and marks actually went up, which caused the universities quite a bit of hassle, actually, because they over-offered on the numbers of people coming to university. But it means that quite a few students deferred, quite a few actually did go through. So it was quite an interesting time. It's now settling down, I'm glad to say, and is much better. So this year, where did our students go to? Well, all over the place, really. If you look at what we call the G5 universities, Oxford, Cambridge, London School of Economics, University College London, and Imperial College, you can see the numbers on the screen about where people went to. But one of the things that's happening for quite a few of our students, and particularly for some of our West African students, is they're not necessarily staying in the UK afterwards. They might be going to Australia, the US, Canada, European universities. It just depends. So in terms of our stats, 83% went on to what's known as the QS top 100 universities globally. And 67% went on to those top 24 Russell Group universities. And what kind of things did they study? Well, when you look at West Africa, quite a few students are coming to us, for instance, in terms of engineering. Quite a few are coming in terms of natural sciences or medicine. There's a lot of people wanting to do business, economics, finances. One of the areas which is very much increasing for us actually is computer science. And I think quite a few young people are realizing that they're is quite a good market for them in computer science, and there's some very, very steady jobs out there which are quite well paid. And we've seen definitely a noticeable increase in numbers of people studying computer science at A level and above. Now, we also do GCSEs, and as Mark quite said, I've got schools which also do one-year foundation programmes. For instance, Earlscliffe, which John's going to speak to you later, does a one-year foundation. Another of our schools, St Andrews, does a one-year foundation. But really, depending on the pathway that you want to choose, some people may like to come a bit earlier to GCSEs. And again, we were top of the league tables in the first year that the GCSEs were marked. But an academic education, funnily enough, is not just about the A-levels that you do. It's about how you extend students, how you give them extra skills, for instance, how you give them careers guidance, and how you actually prepare them for their university and the university of their choice, doing the course that they want to do. And so we do a lot of things like weekly critical thinking classes, pre-university classes, extended project qualifications, research projects, and for those wanting to do things like engineering or product design, they need an art portfolio. But skills are also very important, not just in terms of going to university, but also further into the workplace. And so actually how you demonstrate your communication skills or your leadership and working skills are really, really important. And we find projects and things that we can do with students to actually help them be able to actually demonstrate when they're writing their all-important personal statement, how they've actually achieved these types of skills. Work experience, another area which is growing hugely. For instance, we've just bought a new company which actually specialises in work experience programmes for students over the summer if they don't have them as part of their school. But in somewhere like Cardiff, we provide that on site, both internationally and in the UK, and do a lot of enrichment weeks where we get speakers from many different industries to come and speak to the students. And we test people and we help them actually understand, what they're particularly good at from a personality point of view, from a psychometric testing point of view, using Moresby benchmarks. University preparation, again, all of the schools here on this call are very, very experienced in terms of helping students go on to the right universities for them. At Cardiff, we have to also help our students who are going on to very top universities undertake training in specific admissions tests. So for something like ethics, they need to be matched in the UCAT. For the lawyers, they'll need LNET tests. There will be maths tests that people will need to actually kind of have an interim between school maths and university maths. There's a whole load of other elements which we're quite experienced at doing here in the UK. And the same with GCSEs. We've set them up really as a 4-year pathway to universities. So students are not just studying their subjects and doing their lovely sport, music, art, drama, extracurricular, which you'll hear more about from other speakers, but we also do a whole terms of enrichment in terms of team building, performance, public speaking, problem solving, and entrepreneurship. And the head at Cardiff does a weekly politics, philosophy, and ethics class, again, helping students look wider than their narrow, just the academic subjects that they're studying. But what makes the difference? Well, this is the slide I'm going to end on, but it's all to do with people. And the staff in many of our schools here, I would say, are absolutely excellent. They have held very senior positions in other schools. They may have had headships, they may have been setting exam papers, they may have been school inspectors, but all of our staff at Cardiff have at least 15 years experience, which means that they've amassed huge amounts of online resources, exam papers, extra projects for our students to do. And we make sure people are used to tests. And during COVID, of course, people didn't have as many tests because that wasn't happening. So, bringing back those skills in terms of research skills, in terms of revising skills, in terms of study management skills, again, really, really important. So I will finish there, Mark. I hope that's enough for everybody. He said, do come and join us at the Kempinski Hotel next week. We'll all very much look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you, Henrietta. That's fantastic. And Aquabar for any families who've joined us since we started as well. I know we've got about 20 online and 40 registered so far. Can I just pick a question for you? You've talked brilliant terms about Cardiff Sixth Form College as an example of academic excellence and other colleges as part of Dukes, but also families from West Africa are attracted to the UK generally because of academic excellence and a pathway to British universities and American universities. Would you say that that's your experience at Cardiff as well? that
Yes. I mean, and not
stepping
just to
stone.
Cardiff. I think there's different pathways, and it depends on the students and when they're finishing. So so probably one of the most popular pathways is A levels, but a 1-year university foundation is becoming kind of increasingly attractive to some families, for instance, which is interesting. And I'm seeing an enormous rise in the numbers of students going on to American universities in particular, but also European universities for things like medicine. So it's quite interesting. The UK, I think, has been very, very good and is absolutely fantastic at the school years. And it depends on the course in which you're going on to. For instance, there are some courses which, knowing the American university system, something like medicine is probably not quite as useful a course to do in the US, for instance, because of the way they structure the course and making it more general. And medicine, of course, is a very long course and very expensive, so you don't want to extend it anymore. But I've had West African students, for instance, quite a lot going on to do things like economics and business at Columbia, at California University, at New York University, for instance, I can just think of in the last 2 or 3 years. And I'm sure other colleagues will see the same. For instance, I was looking at one of our art students, for instance, at St Andrews, one of our schools, who's gone on to an American university, for instance, to do art. And often with American universities, they're looking for well-rounded people with lots of extra kind of sport and music, for instance, and skills that they have too. So it's a slightly different experience. I think the UK is particularly good academically, I would say. From people I know, including my husband, who went to the US, he definitely said the UK is ahead, definitely, when it comes to the academic element.
That's interesting. And would you say, certainly parents have told me, and one of the reasons they choose the UK, even if they're after an American university, is that it's a stepping stone, kind of flying the nest, not immediately thousands of miles to America, but actually same time zone in the UK, and then do a couple of years preparing for SATs, etc., and then going to America after that.
I think also it's an element to do with safety, isn't it? I think when when you're all our children, and many of us on the call actually have children of similar ages, where you want to make sure, knowing if you're going to send them overseas, that they're going to somewhere that's kind of going to be safe and secure, and that they're going to have a good education, and that it's going to help prepare them, not just in terms of their next steps, but that they're going to mature and that they're going to grow into themselves, and that they're going to have some time to do that in somewhere which will give them some space. And I think our schools are really, really good at doing that.
And the final question for you, Henrietta, you've answered them brilliantly, so thanks so much for that. Would you say that it's easier or a safer route to come to the UK to study in a sixth form rather than coming and then going on to a British or American university, rather than coming straight from Ghana to an American or British university? What would be the advantages of doing that?
Huge advantages in terms of personal development, because I think going to study in a very international arena, if you like, where you meet students from all around the world and you realize kind of what the competition really is up to, if you like, culturally, in terms of understanding a different culture, and maturity in terms of independence when you come to do something like boarding. It gives you a tremendous advantage. I mean, I would have loved to have done it, and I think if you get the opportunity to do it, I think the numbers of parents I've said who've said to me, oh my goodness, my son or daughter has changed beyond beyond my wildest dreams. They've grown up, they've got nicer people, they've kind of started to realize it, and also how important their family is. I think there's nothing like distance, is there, which gives you an appreciation for your family and your culture and where you come from, and sometimes that's a good thing too, actually, but it's all about growing. And to go and study in a different country, in somewhere like the UK, which is very, very experienced, it must be a real joy, I think.
Brilliant. And obviously the pastoral care is second to none as well. So you've got the benefits of academic excellence and pastoral care.
Yeah,
so it's
absolutely.
wonderful presentation, Henrietta, and it's a great way to kick off the session. Now
Thank you, Mark.
We're going to move on to Ascot now, and Lindy Smith, the Head of Admissions and Administration at LVS Ascot, is going to talk about co-curricular opportunities and give it some examples of co-curricular opportunities at LVS Ascot, and also the difference it makes to the development and maturity of your son or daughter and the opportunities that the UK education brings in terms of sport and co-curricular opportunities. So over to Lindy.
Thank you very much, Mark. Good afternoon, everyone. As Mark said, I'm Lindy Smith from LVS Ascot in the heart of Berkshire, in the southwest of England. I am originally from South Africa, where I bring the skills of understanding co-curricular, which is a big thing in South African schools in particular. And I wanted to make sure that we bring that kind of feel to the UK schools. We're a non-selective schools. We have no academic entrance tests for students to attend, but we have a very big focus on co-curricular activities and looking at the student as a balanced individual and making sure that they have those extra bits and those talents that they have and how they can progress those talents, nurture those talents, and actually use that in their day-to-day life. More often now, we have got very competitive students. They know much earlier in their life what they want to do and where they want to go. I myself have an independent school year 8 daughter who I can remember at that age, I didn't know exactly what it is I was going to do. She has a very clear path of where she's going to go, what her A levels are going to be, and what she's going to do with that. And I think they've become more confident, and they want to make sure that they stand out. You will have a large number of CVs now arriving at universities from a large number of students who will all look the same. And what is that thing that's making that student stand out? What is it that they are doing that is working outside of just the academics and making them a more well-rounded person? And so we really want to do a focus on your normal, your sporting activities, your performing arts activities, but equally, what can they get out of that? So at LVS, we are now offering the DofE, the Duke of Edinburgh Award, which a number of schools do, which they can get UCAS points for. But equally, we have gone live about a year ago with a program called Arts Award. And that is basically a Duke of Edinburgh for the arts. And so it's particularly around performing arts and art as physical art, sculpting and things like that. So it really is giving a focus on something more than just completing your A levels or just completing your GCSEs. We have over 186 co-curricular clubs that run every term at school, whether that is before school, during lunch or after school, in a variety of things that students want to do. Our headmistress, Mrs. Cunniffe, who you will meet in Ghana soon, she's on her way there, out there to go and meet all of you. She will tell you that there's no stone unturned in terms of what we can offer in terms of clubs. So when she's out on an international tour, she will go and buy things. We've recently got delivered 6 tech ball tables, which is apparently going to be the new sport, Olympic sport, in the next 2 years. And it really does help with teamwork and building those social skills. What we want to do is make sure that our international students in particular are integrated into the community easily, and that they feel part of the school and part of the local community. And doing that is bringing in those co-curricular activities, which they can do as a team, which they can build on, and they can actually play with their friends and boarding and learn new skills that they can take away with them. It focuses on the individual talents as well. Not everyone is going to be an academic superstar, but they are going to have skills which in this day and age is probably going to stand them in more good stead than just having their A-level subjects. It also focuses on mental health and pastoral and well-being a lot. We have a number of co-curricular clubs, places that children can take part around mental health and well-being. We have exam tips and tricks, sleep well programs, yoga, all sorts of things that they can take part in, because it is busy, it is competitive, there is so much going on that these students need a bit of a time out. So yes, so there's a big focus on that, and we are happy to provide that for the students when they come and see us. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Lindy. I wanted to leave some time for questions. We've had a couple of questions coming in, which I'll fire at you in a second. But a question for me, because we had a wonderful visit to LVS Ascot in the summer and had a cream tea and everything else, which was fantastic. Yeah. It's a very British experience. I recommend it as a bonus for visiting LVS. I guess one of the key takeaways of my visit was the fantastic theatre that you have, and the fact that all children have opportunities to present in the theatre, do public speaking. And it strikes me that building confidence of young people, especially post-COVID, and kind of presentation skills are so important. What would be your kind of view on that? And can you give any examples of children who've really kind of come out of themselves as a result of the opportunities to present and get involved in theatre and drama and dance?
Yes, of course. I think coming out of COVID in particular, we have seen sadly quite a decline in the mental health and social skills of our students across the world, because they have been working in such isolation. So it's a real difficulty even from our reception children, who, if you think about it, haven't even had the opportunity to go to a nursery. So they've not had that opportunity to interact with others, with peers, of anybody of their age. A particular example of one of our Year 7 students that came in, an incredibly academic child, but quite isolated in how she works, because it's her books and it's her. She joined our backstage team. So what we do is in all of our productions, and we have a large number of theatre productions at school across all the year groups, we have a backstage team. So these can be students who are interested in the arts, but not particularly wanting to be on the stage, and giving them a job to do that. We did a production of We Will Rock You for Year 5 to 9. And this student ended up working all the lights and the mics for this show. Now, if anybody knows the theatre very well, that's a bit of my background, Mark knows, in Bohemian Rhapsody from Queen and We Will Rock You, in the first 50 seconds of the song, there are 38 lighting changes. Now, we have got A-level students and experienced theatre technicians who will not be able to cue all those lights. She did it on her own. She ran 2 nights of that theatre show on her own. Coming back from the summer holidays, we have a different child. We have a child who has made more friends. We have a child who involves herself in more than just her academics. And we have a child whose parents wrote us a lovely letter to say she is more out of her shell at home. She is interacting with the family better. They cannot thank us enough for what we have done in that sense. So it is providing those opportunities to students who won't necessarily go down that route. And yeah, we provide that here for them.
That's really fantastic example, Lindy, and that's really well presented. Now we've had a couple of questions come in. I just want to go over to Sarah Travis for the moment, and then come back to Lindy for some questions a bit later. So Sarah Travis works for TASIS, the American school in England, and we've had a very relevant question come in. I know all schools could answer this one, but firing this one at Sarah is, what preparation does your school provide for students who need to sit the SAT test, SATs for American universities? Do you offer any coaching or preparation, and how does that work? So over to Sarah Travis for that question.
Okay, thank you, Mark. It's actually part of the presentation I'm going to give today, but absolutely we do. We run a SAT and ACT preparation course for the students, and we're actually lucky enough to be an ACT and SAT testing centre as well, so they can actually take those exams on campus. And our dedicated university and college counselling team actually help our students, as I say, prepare for those exams, and then are part of the examination in terms of helping them to arrange it, etc. So yeah, it's something that a lot of our students will choose to do, because we probably have roughly 50% go to American universities, including Ivy League, and then the other 50% will go to UK universities, mainly Russell Group.
Brilliant, good. Well, that's a fantastic advert for your presentation after this next one. So stay tuned, as they say. So fantastic. Now we're going to go to Folkestone, a lovely coastal town, which I visited last week with my wife. And we're going to go to John Peach, who's the market executive of a place called Earlscliffe College. And what's unique about Earlscliffe College is a small college with fantastic pastoral care, but also has a number of international students, and which brings its own benefits. So John is going to tell us about the international environment in a British boarding school and how your son or daughter can benefit from that. So over to John.
Hi, Mark. Hi, everybody. Thank you for that glowing introduction, Mark. I think we do tick all of those boxes, so that's great. I'm just going to share my screen and bring up a presentation, if that's okay, guys. Now, as I say, my name is John Peach. I'm a marketing manager here at Earlscliffe. Has that come up okay? Can everyone see that presentation there? Wonderful. Yeah. But I thought what I'd start with doing, I think one of the focuses of this is why the UK. And I thought I'd sit down and just think a little bit about why the UK myself. And the UK isn't renowned for much anymore. We don't have vast engineering. We don't produce too much anymore, apart from women's football. But I do believe we have the best education in the world. I solidly believe that. If you go anywhere, any country in the world, and talk to parents, they will often have a desire to send their children to the UK. And I truly believe that we still have the very best education in the world. We have an incredible diversity of students and understanding of that diversity. We have students from all over the world. We have literally hundreds of nationalities based in the UK. And I think we have a culture that is incredibly accepting and accommodating and joyful about having those students with us in many, many regards. We have smaller class sizes. We have greater focus on the individual student, I think, more than many countries, which is why parents choose to send their children to the UK. And we have a wide array of study options. I was reading the other day that if you do history at A level, there are 200 different options that you can select for your final project, which is not the case in every country. So it's not just the subject options, it's the array of options within those subjects that you can take as well. We have intensive and passionate teaching, and A levels are accepted and admired globally. So wherever you're looking at going in the world, we can help you with that. There's wonderful networking opportunities, there's life experience, and then there's just the challenge, which I think is something that I look at our students with great pride every day, that they have taken on a challenge to do something, and I'm very proud of them for that. In terms of our school and how we fit into that, we are, as Mark said, a small international school on the south coast of Kent in a place called Folkestone. We have really small class sizes. We have a traditional boarding school environment. We are small. We have 130 students taught by around 40 teachers. We have weekly testing, and we have a bespoke program that brings personal pathways to students. And we also have a family-style boarding house. We asked all of our students who left us last year to talk about the school and give a few words. And the two words that kept coming up from all of our students were family and community. And that made us really happy, because that's what we try and create. We try and create a home from home where students can stay and study. We are international. So if you're looking for a British boarding school, that's not us. Mr. Williams, our head teacher, is going to be out in Ghana next week, and he will talk to you about the school. But we have basically 95% of our students are international. So if you're looking for a Harry Potter environment with 80% British kids, that's not us. But I think we provide brilliant networking, brilliant opportunities, and cultural awareness. We do A levels, as you can imagine. Henrietta touched on this earlier. We do a one-year university foundation year. We also do a one-year business diploma, and that's something that can get access to UK universities in 1 year, which is a great option for lots of students who are raring to go and ready for university. So if you're 17 and you're looking for a one-year option, both of those are good. I wanted to share with you, this is where we are, we're right down on the south coast there. I wanted to share with you a few of our student stories, just to talk about what makes us special. We are non-selective. Okay, so there are many schools in the UK that are selective and take the best of the best and take students with specific skills, but we take students who are passionate and want to achieve their absolute potential. This is Eniola. She joined us from Nigeria. She achieved an A star and 3 A's this year. She finished a little bit early. I did tell her 2 years ago not to do A levels, but she's quite determined, and she decided to do them at 15 anyway. And as such, her options for university were a little bit limited, but she got onto a biomedical sciences program at university, and she will be a doctor. I am 100% sure of that, because whenever she tells me she's going to do something, she does it. But what I think about our student stories is that every student is individual, and we create a pathway for each student. Jessica is actually a Ghanaian student who I wanted to talk to you about. Unfortunately, the best picture I could find of her was in a face mask, which slightly dates the picture, I'm afraid. Don't worry, we're not all wearing face masks in the UK anymore. But Jessie joined our foundation year in September 2021. She worked incredibly hard, and she actually got onto law at the University of York from our foundation year. And I think that's something that is incredibly powerful, because we talk about A levels as the gold standard. But universities now in the UK are looking at lots of different options and opportunities for students. And Jessie did 1 year with us. She got into a fantastic world-renowned university to do a brilliant subject, and she's done very, very well. Finally, I just wanted to share two of our Nigerian students, and Jaren as well there, who worked incredibly hard to get to medical courses. I have one more, apologies guys, one more, because I think this is quite an important one. Aka from Nigeria, he was struggling with the system at home. Okay, he wasn't fitting into lessons. He wasn't fitting into the traditional surroundings of his school. So he came to the UK, and I think there's lots of different reasons that students choose to come to the UK, but that is one of the common ones, that students are struggling for whatever reason with their environment. Aka is an incredibly talented artist and animator. He's now at Bournemouth doing BSc in animation, and essentially he found himself here. And I think that we've heard some lovely stories of students who've done that in the UK. So really my advice to all parents is just to come along and meet Mark and the team, ask for advice, because there are lots of different wonderful options in the UK. Hopefully I've not gone over time, Mark.
No, that's really perfect, actually. And it's a really nice way to end in the transformative stories of people like Jessica, Eniola, and Aka as well. Some of the students that I know, and the parents as well, and they're extremely grateful, and how you've transformed and matured their students and children. And I could give many examples of other families who've been through Earlscliffe and say exactly the same to me. It's like a butterfly effect, a kind of transforming chrysalis and butterfly, and really blossom at Earlscliffe because of the British and international environment. I've got a question for you. As I was in the lunch queue last week, queuing for fantastic lunch at Earlscliffe, I was really struck by the fact that there are lots of different nationalities all chatting to each other. So you have a Nigerian talking to a German, and a Swiss talking to a Chinese, etc. What difference do you think that makes in terms of the world view of the students who leave Earlscliffe and their awareness of how the world works and the kind of psyche of other nationalities? Do you think that gives any advantage to them in the wider world and business world, just really getting into the mindset of other international students and how they tick?
Yeah, we say to our students all the time that it's very, very likely that you are not going to work where you live anymore. The world is a big place. When I was growing up, I kind of thought I'd probably work somewhere near where I lived. But actually, in my life, I've been lucky enough to work all over the world. And by doing that, you have to be aware culturally. Our students get access to, as I say, we have 30 different nationalities here, and they have to get along. We're a family, and we say we're like brothers and sisters here. You might fight sometimes, you might fall out sometimes, but as in the workplace, as we all know, you have to get on with those people. And culturally, I think our students leave Earlscliffe with a knowledge of cultural, religious, different ideals from different worlds. And I think that's something that makes me incredibly proud every day. I think I always refer to the British education system as being like chocolate or ice cream. There is something for everyone, and they're all brilliant. And it's just which one you want. So as I say, we are an incredibly diverse school, students from all over the world. They get on really well, and they all have something in common, which is they all want to do really well. So yeah, they chat to each other, they learn from each other, they get ready for the real world, which generally is a multicultural one.
That's really fantastic answer, John. That's brilliant. We've had a question come in from a parent, and that's I guess kind of a fundamental question really is about fees and payment of school fees. Do they have to pay the school fees up front a year in advance, or can they pay termly, or how does all that work?
Is that for me, Mark?
It is, yes.
Yeah, I'm sure every school differs that are on this call and all over the UK. What I would say is we are flexible here. There are visa regulations that you have to meet financially. Many of our parents choose to pay a year in advance because it maybe eases their visa application, but many don't. Many pay termly. I know currently that the pound is not particularly strong, so you know, go for it now, guys, quick before we recover. Who knows when that will happen? But yeah, every school is different. There are scholarships available, there are options available, and I think I speak for everybody here where we want good, ambitious, positive, lovely students to come to the UK. And all of us, I think, are passionate about helping them do that. We are aware that financially, independent education is expensive, but there's a great, I never know if it's an African proverb, I think it is, if you think education is expensive, you should try ignorance. And I think that's something that kind of is important. So yes, we are all happy, I think, to support with different measures of payment, different modes of payment. Talk to the school, talk to us, we'll do our best to help.
Thanks. And I saw that quote at the leaving an airport from West Africa just the other week. So I think it must be an African proverb. So
that's right.
It's very well remembered. Now, we've had a little bit of an advert for Sarah Travis from TASIS about universities and getting into universities and SATs, SATs and things. Now we're going to go over to Sarah for a little bit more to hear from her about how all that works and how to get into the top universities or the most appropriate universities for your son or daughter through TASIS and other British boarding schools. So over to Sarah.
Thank you very much, Mark. I'm just going to share my screen here. Hopefully be able to do that. Let's see. Here we go. Okay, so thank you very much for the introduction, Mark. You should all now be able to see my screen, hopefully.
I don't think you can see your screen yet, so.
Oh, it might take a while to come up.
Okay.
Let me know when you can see it. I can see it on mine.
I'll put my thumb up when it appears. Carry on.
Okay. So I'm actually going to be talking to you today about progression to world-class universities. Hopefully you'll be able to see my screen in a minute. If not, I can carry it on talking without the slides anyway. Let me know if you can see it, Mark.
We can't see it yet, but you're doing brilliantly without the slides, so just carry on.
Yeah, I'll just carry on. So acceptance rate at world-class universities is very low, probably at the lowest it ever has been in this period of sort of time in this history. In 2022, so this year, Harvard's acceptance rate was just a little over 3%, Yale just over 4%, Princeton was actually less than 4%, and Oxford and Cambridge sit at around 15%, both of those. So as you can see, the acceptance rate is very low compared to other universities. So it's crucial that you give your child the very best possible chance. And how do UK independent or UK-based international schools do that? Well, some of my sort of colleagues on this Zoom, on this webinar today, have actually sort of demonstrated some of these points already, but I'm just going to go through a few of them with you. So academic excellence is one of those. So students consistently achieve the very best results. And as I said, this is crucial given the very high entry requirements of world-class universities. We actually have, and this is actually shown on the slide, but I don't think you can actually see those, unfortunately. But Eli and Thomas actually got commended by the head of the AB programme a couple of weeks ago for scoring perfect scores in their advanced placement courses, in their exams that they took just the May just gone. So that's some things that schools can achieve. Unparalleled quality. So each school has a distinct ethos and values, but each one of those schools will encourage your child to reach their full potential. As John mentioned, small class sizes. So they really allow teachers to get to know the individual child and to tailor their approach to suit them. More time can be devoted to the educational development of each individual child. And at TASIS in the upper school, so from students who are around 14 to 18, the average class size is around 10. So that really does give very personalised attention for each student. UK independent schools have top quality teaching, so they attract the most talented, passionate teachers from around the world, and they strive to develop a full understanding of each child's learning style, their interests and their motivations. We can offer bespoke curriculum, so teachers are able to teach freely of the national curriculum, and they can be broader in the educational provision. so they can offer a wider range of qualifications and subjects. So at TASIS, we offer the American high school curriculum up until grade 10, which is the equivalent to year 11 in the British system. And then in the last 2 years, our students can either do advanced placement courses or the IB diploma programme, both of which are internationally recognised qualifications. We offer first-class facilities and resources, and I think some of my colleagues have mentioned this in previous presentations, that UK independent schools have exemplary facilities and resources to support their students' learning. So from well-equipped classrooms, so at TASIS we have fantastic science labs with all the latest equipment and facilities. We also have multiple sports facilities, so tennis courts, basketball courts, etc. Access to high quality resources, which provide students with the opportunity to discover their interests and also their strengths. There's an extensive range of extracurricular activities and school clubs available at independent schools. And these really add diversity to the learning experience. And they're also an important social element to the lives of students as well. And at TASIS, we have a wide variety of extracurricular activities. So whether it's sports, music, arts, clubs such as Model United Nations, Debate Club, Environmental Society, there really is something for everyone. And lastly, something that I really wanted to emphasise at TASIS, which is, I feel, quite unique to us in the way that we actually conduct our university and college counselling. So we're very lucky to have a specialist team on campus. So they are teachers that do university and college counselling as part of an add-on to their teaching job. They are actually dedicated university and college counsellors, so that's all they do throughout the academic year. And we offer a unique 4-year course, which is called the Future Pathways. And it's offered to all of our students in upper school, so from grades 9 to grade 12, so from 14 to 18. Every single student will sit on that 4-year course. They get assigned their own college counsellor who will meet with them regularly, and they really provide full support and guidance through the university and college admissions process. And that includes, as I mentioned before, SAT and ACT preparation course, the actual SAT and ACT exams, the Moresby Interest and Career Inventory, which gives them sort of guidance on sort of what career might be good for them or what subjects to take for the degree they want to study. They help them with the application process to universities, both UK and US, and indeed other universities across the world, and also specialist universities where they have to make, say, early applications or do supplemental essays, for example, for MIT or Harvard, or like I say, they have to apply early for Oxford or Cambridge, so they get guidance with that. We have a university fair held on campus each year. We take our students, or the college counselling team, take the students to university fairs as well. They help them research the universities and college and actually really narrow it down to particular courses. So a student may think they want to study business, and most universities in the UK and US and wider afield will offer business, but it's about narrowing it down to the individual modules so you can actually really go and do the degree that is most suitable for you. And all of those things put together, so the small class sizes, the excellent academic results, this dedicated university and college counselling team, have resulted in 97% of our students gaining entry into their first or second choice university. And that has included Ivy League in the US. So our students have gone to MIT, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, and they have gone to Russell Group universities and quite regularly do. So Oxford, Cambridge, Imperial College, UCL, LSE, something we're very proud of. And that's why I wanted to highlight our university and college counselling team, because I really do think that they have had a significant impact in us reaching that percentage. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Sarah. That's a fantastic presentation, and 97% of students reaching their university of choice is a fantastic figure, because you mentioned you go to really top universities as well. Can I just ask a question? You talked very brilliantly about how you prepare students for university and for different courses and things. Does that include career guidance and guidance on what course and career they should be looking at in the first place?
Yeah, absolutely, it does, Mark. They will speak to students about sort of possible careers that they want in the future, they might be considering, and then they'll help them to choose the subjects that are most appropriate for entry into those the degrees that they need for those particular careers. We arrange for speakers to come onto campus from various different industries as well to talk to our students about different careers and give them an insight into that. Our students get work experience and they get support in arranging that, and obviously evaluating their experience from it as well. So yes, the university and college counselling team, they incorporate all of that, not only university and college courses, but also sort of looking beyond that into their careers.
Good, that's fantastic. So it's good to hear about work experience as well. That's quite hard to arrange, but it's quite transformative for students as well. Brilliant. Well, thanks very much, Sarah. There's a fantastic presentation. We're now going to hear from Vanessa Bowles, who's down at Mount Kelly School in Devon, and she's going to talk to us about boarding, benefits of boarding, British boarding schools, and pastoral care, which is an obviously important element of that. So over to Vanessa.
Hi, thank you, Mark. It's lovely to have this opportunity to talk to everyone today. So as Mark mentioned, I'm going to talk to you about pastoral care and the boarding element of school. You've heard from all my colleagues about all the wonderful benefits of a UK education, all the academic excellence, the sport, extracurricular activities. But at the end of the day, you're sitting there considering sending your child a long way overseas to school, and you need to know that they're going to be cared for and looked after. So I'm going to just talk to you a little bit about the mechanisms and the systems in place to make sure that children are cared for and well looked after, because obviously a happy child is the one who's going to work the hardest and do the best in the end. So oh, this doesn't seem to be working. It's just can't seem to move my, there we go, it's working now. So when you're looking for a school, and I guess some of you might be quite a long way down the line of looking at schools, but some of you, this may be your first taster of looking for schools in the UK, and there are a few pointers just to think about. And I think, just a quick aside, I would say that one of the real benefits of coming to the fair that we'll all be at next week at the Kempinski and the other fairs that Mark runs, is you will see a whole variety of schools. You'll see all girls schools, you'll see international schools, and schools with all sorts of different emphases in their provision. And I think what is really great about coming to the fair is that you can look round all those schools and start to get a feel for which one might be the right environment for your child. All these schools are great schools, but you know, you've got to match up your child to the school and make sure you find somewhere that they're going to be happy. So one of the things I would suggest first of all is just look at the boarding. I mean, unlike John, at Mount Kelly, we are a Harry Potter school. We're in the deepest, darkest Devon. We have 80% British boarders. But the most important thing I would say is we have a lot of full boarding. So there's lots of different types of boarding that you'll hear about. There's weekly boarding, flexi boarding, and full boarding. And what you want to look for is a school where most of the children are full boarders, because you don't want your child left on their own at the weekend because everyone else has gone home. So just, you know, when you're talking about boarding with schools, just ask them how many pupils are there at the weekend and what goes on at the weekend, because that can be very important. Pupils can board from the age of 7, which is quite young, but most boarders come in sort of age 11, year 7 and upwards. So we're going to talk a bit about pastoral care and well-being, and what systems schools put in place to make sure that those are being provided. So at Mount Kelly, we really believe that spiritual, moral, cultural and social values are caught rather than taught. And what I mean by that is that it is everyday relationships. It's all the relationships that your child has at school that matters. It's not just about a teacher providing pastoral care. It's about every single person with whom they come into contact during that day, really caring and feeling that the child's needs come first. So whether it be the gardeners or the groundsmen or the catering staff, they're all there for the children, and it's their relationships with each other that matter as well. So pastoral care should be endemic through the school. The values should be endemic through the school. They're between everybody, not just the teachers and the pupils, but between the pupils, between the teachers and their colleagues, and between everyone else who works at the school. And with that, there's a whole team of people that get involved with the pastoral care. So the house parents. So at Mount Kelly, we have 4 boarding houses, 2 girls and 2 boys, and they each have resident house parents. And then there's the matrons, the tutors, chaplaincy can be very important as well, the school nurse, the counsellors. We believe pupil voice is very important, and the lessons in PRE, that's philosophy, religion and ethics, and PHSE and RHSE. So I'm going to talk a little bit about each of those. So the house parents have overall responsibility for the welfare of the pupils in their house, and they are in loco parentis, if you like, for your child while they're at school. So the house parents live on site, they're accessible all the time, and they make sure that the pupils are getting involved with the extracurricular activities, they're coping with their academics. Our house parents are teachers as well, so our head of chemistry, our head of physics, our director of sport and our head of maths are all house parents. So it's quite good if you struggle with maths and you're in a house whose house parent is the head of maths, because she can help you with all your homework, which is really great. But there is a whole team of people who will be there to help as well. And the tutors are very important. So they are a team of academic staff who meet with the pupils twice a week, and they can chat to them and make sure that they're keeping up with all their extracurricular activities and their academics. Sometimes you can find, I know my daughter's at the school, and at the moment she wants to do Duke of Edinburgh, she wants to do the 10 Tours, which is a hiking challenge on Dartmoor. She wants to play first team hockey, she wants to be in the choir, and sometimes you just need somebody to say to them, actually, you know, you might need to just draw back a little from these so you can concentrate on your studies. But it's somebody just like you would at home. If you were at home with your child, you'd say, just make sure you're not doing too much and make sure you've done your homework before you go off and do hockey practice. Someone who can just guide them through the day with all the opportunities that they're being presented with all the time. The school nurse is very important. At Mount Kelly, we have a school nurse who's on site. She works with the general practitioners, the family doctors in town, and she has a blocked out group of appointments every day that she can take pupils to if they need it, and matrons will help with that. And these can be routine things, so she would know if your child has something like asthma or another condition that needs regular checkup. They will take your child to the doctors. They can also take them for dental appointments if they need them, for orthodontic follow-ups and things like that. So Nurse Hannah there is our school nurse, and she's very approachable. Her clinic is open all day. Pupils can pop in and out, and they do pop in and out a lot because Nurse Hannah also has the well-being dog Pippin, and the children quite often pop in to see Pippin and take Pippin out for a walk, and that's quite a nice way of just having a little walk around the grounds with your friends. And so Hannah's not just there for the medical care, she's also there to make sure that the children are happy and feel comfortable in their surroundings. As I mentioned earlier, we believe very strongly that it's important that pupils feel part of running the school, and I think that's an important part of well-being. We all need to feel empowered, we need to feel that our voices are heard, and so they meet 2 or 3 times a term. So they're elected by their peers, and they meet 2 or 3 times a term, and they set their own agenda. And that rather elderly gentleman, he'd kill me for saying that, is our director of pastoral care, and he chairs the meeting, and he will take all the points that they make at the agenda back to the SLT, the senior leadership team, and we discuss those. And we quite often put things in place that the children have suggested, the pupils have suggested, or if not, then we would go back with a reason why what they've suggested might be impractical, or come to some sort of compromise. But I think, you know, pupils find that very reassuring. They feel they're part of the management of the school, and you know, I think that helps them to feel happy as well. So we talked a bit about the academic side of well-being and pastoral care. Obviously philosophy, religion and ethics is for all the pupils in year 9 learn that, and it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, having a multicultural school with lots of different beliefs and cultures, and that the PHSE and in PRE they look at issues in philosophy and theology and ethics, and they develop a critical approach to religious and moral questions, and the academic emphasis makes the subject appealing to pupils irrespective of their personal faith. But the overarching goal and assessment criteria for religious studies is to learn about different religions, and then begin to develop an understanding of how religion affects people's views and actions, and to start, you know, understanding where other people's viewpoints come from. And my daughter, who's in that picture there, so she loves PRE, and she finds it really interesting learning about all the different religions and how people view things. And then PSHE is delivered weekly, and that's timetabled sessions, and that's looking at you know, health issues and sexual education and things like that, which are all important to discuss in a for children to discuss in a controlled, sort of helpful, supportive way. So, and then the other part of boarding life, which is really important, is the social side. And whilst I've sort of put the emphasis on all the care and helping your children navigate their way through the school day, what's also really important is allowing children just to develop friendships, and it goes back to what we were saying earlier about having friends all over the world and networking, and just having time to chat and play games, and study together and develop all those friendships that are so important. So whilst boarding life is very busy, and yes, they will be running off to a rugby match or a hockey match or swimming training or whatever, the children do need some downtime. And certainly, you know, we have quite a lot of experience that at Mount Kelly. We have a performance swim program, so we have pupils here who are swimming for their countries, and that requires a real high level of training, and actually it's really important to make sure that they also get a bit of downtime when they can just chill and chat, maybe over a cup of tea, and all the common rooms have, all the boarding houses have nice cozy common rooms where they can have movie nights, they have pianos where they can play the piano and chat to their friends, and just have some downtime.
Thanks so much, Vanessa. I think we've probably run out of
time
on that.
No, that's fine, I've finished.
I think it's a really good advert to go and see the school in action as well, and to come to the UK and visit the schools in action as well as kind of experience it. And it's great presentation. Just a quick question. I don't know whether you know the answer to this one, but just to illustrate your point really, of how many students you have at the school and how many staff you have, because that would be quite a revealing number.
I don't know whether I can break it down from the college, because we're a through school, so we start at nursery going through to sixth form. So in terms of teaching staff, there are about 300 teaching staff, but obviously some of those will be based very much at the nursery end of the school. So I'm not quite sure how many are at the college, which is just we have 370 pupils at the college. So from age 13 to 18. So I'm not sure about the breakdown, sorry.
But what that illustrates though is there's a fantastic number of staff to care for all the students as well. And so they really do get very well looked after, especially in the boarding environment.
Yeah.
So it's a really powerful point. So thanks very much, Vanessa. That's a really great presentation. And we've got time for any more questions in the chat as well. Henrietta, can I ask you a question? Well, I'll throw the question out to everybody and see who answers first. We've had a question about scholarships. Do students ever get awarded scholarships? And if so, what kind of scholarships can they apply for? Academic, sport or music? and what's the process? Who wants to take that one?
Well, I'll start if you like very briefly, and then we can go on. But we offer academic scholarships, and basically what students do is they take much harder tests, if you like, in the subjects that they want to study. Generally, a scholarship for us would be about 20% of the tuition element of the fees. To give you an idea, that's probably the general idea. So if you're kind of planning it in, that's what I would say, but we're looking for proper scholars, people who are bright and have something they can offer the school. We don't really do money off. That happens very rarely, I think. So it's just kind of making the differential between what is a scholarship and what's a discount.
Lindy was going to mention something as well, I think. Thanks.
Yes, I was going to mention it because we've just gone live with international scholarships for the first time, and it was actually awarded. Our first student was one of your lovely students, Mark, from Nigeria. Temi was awarded an international scholarship with us. So it is currently anything between 10 and 30% of the day fees to be with us. And ours is called the Spirit of LBS Award. So it really is around what embodies that whole student. So it's writing a letter to our headmistress that says, I am this person and this is what I bring and this is what I can do. So it really is looking at the whole person and what they can offer and what they can bring.
Brilliant. Well, that's a good time to wrap up the seminar for this afternoon. And thanks very much for your time and for joining us this afternoon. And we'd really like to invite you to the Kempinski Hotel, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and we're there all evening as well in Accra. And come and see us and bring your children to talk to the schools. We'll have a number of schools there, and we look forward to meeting you in a few days' time. So thanks so much for joining us. It's been a fantastic afternoon presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
See you soon.
Thank you, Mark.